Hello, Scale Auto Racers. I ran into some trouble with these Lexan bodies. These are used for slot car competition chassis and also for radio control cars and stuff like that too, these clear Lexan bodies. And I ran into an issue using this spastic paint, and there's the same brand of liquid mask. And I believe it's mostly due to my impatience, and so I wanted to just kind of put this out there as a warning for other folks. Don't be as impatient as me, or you end up with your stuff looking like crap. But it kind of started with the liquid mask, and that it says on here that it should be dry in about an hour to two. And so when I use this liquid mask on my windshields here and the back windows on these two over here, and it felt like it was dry. It was cold and raining outside, but I had these indoors using this mask since it's not toxic, and let it dry, I thought, sufficiently. I was able to cut around and remove the excess and everything, so the mask was only covering the windows like it was supposed to. But then when I took it outside into the cold, rainy weather and sprayed it, I ended up way overspraying it because I just, flooded it with paint. And this was one that I did with tape, not using that mask, but you can see how I just oversprayed the heck out of these things before I realized it. Since it was so cold and rainy outside, the stuff just wasn't drying that quickly. But so on these two, it appears that this paint basically ate into the mask and turned it all into this hard material that is not removable. I mean, I've been scraping and scraping on this, and I can't get, and you can see I managed to do just this little bit, and it's pretty much impossible, or nearly impossible, to get that off of there. Same thing happened over here with a bunch of this one. I scraped and scraped and was able to get about that much of it off, and that's it. So I guess I'm not sure if I want to work on that anymore. It's getting pretty frustrating. I think I may just end up using them like they are, or using a marker to color the windshields or something from the outside a little bit. But that's about the extent of that. So, a couple of tips here. You probably want to give your liquid mask plenty of time to dry. I would definitely give it more than the 2 hours or so they recommend. And then spray your first coats on very, very lightly, because like I said, it looks like it just soaked into that stuff, turned it all into paint, and made a mess out of it. There was also one other problem I had, also probably partially because of my spraying it too thick. These bodies here, these competition bodies for the slot cars, are super thin. Like this one here says it's 0.005. I'm not sure, I assume that's inches, 0.005 inches thickness, and that is just paper thin stuff. And I didn't realize it, but this particular brand has there's kind of a film over it, and I don't know if you can tell on the camera. Let me move these other things out of the way. I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but there's kind of like a lightish bluish greenish tint to it, sort of a sea green or a sea blue sort of a tint to it. And that is a film that's on the outside of this to prevent overspray. And I didn't realize it had that on there, and I went ahead and taped it up on the outside, which ended up crumpling the body a little bit. And so when I oversprayed it with the paint again, it ended up crumbling. The paint got into the little creases and just ate them really quickly. And so as I was pulling off the tape, the body just almost came apart in my hand. I mean, it just cracked up in a bunch of places, and just everywhere it had crumpled basically became a crack, and everywhere it creased, it just broke open. And so the body was basically about ruined. I taped, you can't really tell now because I've taped it all back together pretty well, but I mean, this thing it was junk. So that's another hint, in case you didn't realize it. Some of these bodies, make sure you check, they may have a covering on the outside, and you don't have to tape them. And if you don't have to tape them, well, then you're not going to risk screwing the body up. The second one that I didn't have that problem because I realized that it had the tape, or had that stuff on the outside, and so this one's been painted really lightly much better than the other ones. And it's still, I haven't peeled off the film yet or anything. So that's the story on the bodies. Like I say, be careful with your mask. Make sure you let your liquid mask dry really, really good. Even if it feels like it's pretty much ready, it may not be. And do not spray heavily over it, or you can end up with this problem here and this problem here. Well, hope that helps somebody. Like I said, not to be a little less impatient than I am. Maybe wait for a good day when it's not rainy and cold. And don't make those other mistakes. Thanks for watching.